All right, folks, check this out. Donald Trump's corrupt plan in Texas to essentially cheat in the 2026 elections has completely blown up in his face and the face of Republicans in Texas. They are getting so much public backlash. Democrats are using this to not only fundraise, of course, but also bring attention to what the Republicans are doing, not just in Texas, but across the country. I want to dive into this story with you because we have some major updates in this whole fiasco going on in Texas. And it starts here with the fact that the Republican governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, just issued arrest warrants for Texas Democrats who fled the state. That's right. They are trying to arrest Democrats who left Texas simply because they don't want a state to be gerrymandered to high heavens and for the Republicans to cheat in an election. Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday afternoon said he had ordered state police to find and arrest Democratic lawmakers after the state house issued civil arrest warrants, though state law enforcement is restricted to making arrests in Texas. It's the latest attempt by Abbott to compel Democrats back to the Capitol, escalating a standoff that began when over 50 Democrats fled the state to delay votes on a redistricting map. I think the language here by Axios is a little too nice for me. It's not the latest attempt to compel Democrats back to the Capitol. It's the latest attempt by Abbott and MAGA to cheat. Let's just call it what it is. It's the middle of the decade. Republicans in Texas were asked by Donald Trump to gerrymander the state to give him 5 extra seats. He said it on video, on record, and they obliged. They're trying to cheat. Let's be honest here. Quote, this is what Greg Abbott said. By fleeing the state, Texas House Democrats are holding hostage critical legislation to aid flood victims and advance property tax relief. There are consequences for this dereliction of duty. You know what's a dereliction of duty? The fact that both of these things, legislation for flood victims and property tax relief, can be done without rigging the state. I don't know if Greg Abbott knows that. I assume he does. He's just being a really bad guy. Abbott added that he ordered the State Department of Public Safety to find and arrest any member who has abandoned their duty to Texans. And of course, as I want to reiterate, it is only restricted to Texas, so they can't go to California or Illinois, where many of them are, and try to arrest them and bring them back to Texas. But as I mentioned, this move has just backfired on Republicans in the most spectacular way possible because people are outraged, whether it be citizens in Texas or lawmakers who are now getting more press than ever. People are furious. And I want to show you this clip where this Texas constituent, who's just an average everyday American, average everyday Texan, went to a committee on a congressional redistricting hearing. He spoke in front of these Republicans sitting there and said to their faces that every one of these Republican representatives who are abiding by Donald Trump's demand is one of his prostitutes. He said it to their faces. It's such an amazing moment. Take a look.
We're here because Texas is the first state under assault. If Texas House Republicans bow down to Trump like Abbott did, the other red states will follow. And if they do that, then America will be under assault. To me, House Republicans, in this case, are like a bunch of buzzards on the fence, waiting to swoop down on the dying carcass of democracy and feed on that.
Powerful.
America is a democratic republic, and it's being dismantled daily by Donald Trump. Every single House Republican is under assault by Trump and Abbott. They are telling you that your integrity, your honor, and your duty is for sale, and he is the buyer. And if you obey, you will be rewarded by not being primaried. And if you stand up to him and say no, you will be punished and primaried. And it's that diabolical, it's that simple. In other words, and I don't say this lightly, in other words, he's asking each of you to be one, pardon this word, I mean it in a philosophical way, not a sexual way, but he's asking every one of the Republican representatives in this room to be one of his prostitutes. And I believe that.
I love this guy. Oh, I love this guy. That guy was fantastic, and he's absolutely right. I loved the analogy he gave of the carcass of democracy being watched by birds getting ready to feed on it. The birds are Donald Trump. and MAGA. I mean, that's what it is. That's what they're doing here. This is absolutely an assault on democracy. Regardless of your political affiliation, you could be a Democrat, Republican, Independent, it does not matter. A state got a call from the president to essentially rig it so he can stay in power and continue to pass his very unpopular agenda, and they're abiding. They are abiding. They're not paying attention to what their voters want. They're not paying attention to the voters of Texas. They're paying attention to Donald Trump. And that's exactly why this man, who I still think is fantastic, described these Republican reps in Texas and, of course, in Congress as one of Donald Trump's prostitutes. But also, as I mentioned, it's not just average everyday Americans who are speaking up against this. It's also legislators. We all have all seen James Tallarico recently. He's this rising star in Texas Democratic politics. He went on Joe Rogan, infuriated the hell out of MAGA, and now he's back. And as I mentioned, getting more coverage than ever because of what Republicans are doing. It's just totally backfiring, and he's flirting with a Senate run in Texas, and this only boosts his prospects. So what Republicans are doing is shooting themselves in the foot. Listen to what he had to say about their fleeing of the state on MSNBC earlier today.
We're breaking quorum now because this is different. Trump has asked those same Texas Republicans to redraw the Texas maps to get him 5 more seats. They're doing it in the middle of the decade. Yep. This is like 2 teams coming out of the locker room at halftime of a football game, and the team that's ahead saying they want to change the rules in the second half to make sure they win. It's cheating, plain and simple. And if they're going to cheat, we're not going to play.
Hell yeah. Man, I love James Tallarico. I love what he's saying here. If they're going to cheat, we're not going to play. That should be the standard. That if Republicans are going to go do this, whether it be in Texas or another state, Democrats have to fight back in every way that we can. We cannot let them cheat. They are down in the polls. The midterms are going to be terrible for them. They know that. They see how unpopular their agenda is, and instead of like reworking what they're doing, they're doubling down, trying to continue with their unpopular agenda, but they want to stay in power regardless by changing the rules. Another lawmaker in Texas, Jones Yolanda, responded to Greg Abbott's specifically arrest threats, and what she said was fantastic. Take a look as well.
I'm a lawyer. A part of my practice is criminal defense work. There is no felony in the Texas Penal Code for what he says. So respectfully, he's making up some shit, okay? He's trying to get sound bites, and he has no legal mechanism. And if he did, subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York. So he gonna come get us how? Subpoenas in Texas don't work in Chicago. He's gonna come get us how? So let me be clear. He's putting up smoke and mirrors. And I'm hopeful that the media doesn't follow that. I will also say this.
You know, I really appreciate these Texas legislators who are really putting it all on the line, because it's important to remember that these are just average folks. You know what I mean? Being a Texas legislator, well, it doesn't pay too well. These are not millionaires and billionaires. These are people who have families. They can't just pick up from Texas and leave on a dime and have it be an easy process. They don't get to stay in 5-star hotels. They are really putting everything on the line to block Republicans from doing this. And I just appreciate them so much for doing that. And the last thing I'll say regarding everything we just heard, whether it be this Texas constituent, whether it be James Tallarico or Representative Jones Yolanda, the Republicans are the ones who are doing something unprecedented here. The Democrats fleeing the state of Texas and staying out of Texas to block them is the right thing to do. That is not unprecedented. That's the right moral thing to do. The Republicans right now are in the middle of the decade trying to cheat because they're losing. That's what I call unprecedented. That's what I call anti-democracy. So I'm really loving everything that I'm seeing from Texas Democrats. I hope they keep it up, and I know governors in other states and people are coming in and helping them continue what they're doing. It's fantastic. But listen, I'll leave the video there. I just had to show you this crazy story from Greg Abbott. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world. Make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this insane story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.